What does a modern CEO look like? First of all, I'm going to contrast this with the way that you sort of normally conceive CEOs. And then I'm going to talk about a little of what modern CEOs look like and the sort of changing face of what they actually look like. So the traditional CEO, so Chief Executive Officer, what does that do? So they do a lot of the decision making and set the tone of an organization. That's what a CEO actually does. And then sometimes they do symbolic work to let other people know what the organization represents. That's like letters to the shareholders and things like that. And now the traditional CEO, in terms of how we imagine it, is often running a Fortune 500 company. What is that? Fortune, it's a magazine, has 500 top-ranking companies based on assets, how much that they actually own, assets under management. And the traditional CEO that we think of is normally, in terms of demographics, it's the normal demographics that you might think of in terms of the possession of power in much of our economies. I'm not going to name those, but you can probably imagine what those actually are. The traditional CEO usually has a stable nuclear family, as you can imagine. And the traditional CEO usually does a little bit more of the command and control style of communicating and letting other people know how to actually interact. Now, there were some great studies by Henry Mintzberg years ago about what CEOs actually do. This was back in the 1970s. And what they usually do is spend a whole bunch of time in meetings and a whole bunch of time just communicating with other people and performing kind of day-to-day tasks. They don't do the way that you imagine CEOs do, like sort of think about the future. There's not a lot of time actually spent to that kind of stuff, or making important strategic decisions. Are often doing things like firefighting. Now, what is the contrast with the modern CEO? It's now 2024, and the modern CEO is quite a bit different. And we're really grappling with that at this moment in terms of defining this. In the literature, you see lots of people really grappling with this as we're both coming to terms with what CEOs actually look like and what they do, because we're able to get data and access to many more different things, as well as the fact that the economy is changing because of the internet, access to just a lot of democratization, a lot of democratized tools, and also access to global markets that we just didn't have access to many years ago. And so what does the modern CEO look like? The modern CEO is a lot more flexible. It will be a side job that they actually have, some sort of hybrid organization. They're often grappling, they're part of a family, but they have a lot more family roles in their family, in the sense that they have a lot more responsibility. Still doesn't mean that the sort of traditional nuclear family, as you imagine, doesn't exist, but it's definitely that there's a lot more responsibility that they actually have. Modern CEOs usually are running in some sort of small business, could be on the side, very much so on the side. They might be new at it, or maybe it's some sort of family business that they've been running for a long time. Now, a modern CEO, in terms of if they're accessing these digital capabilities and the democratization of many tools because of this digital access, they are doing many different roles, but also, so they're doing some of the decision making, but they can pass off some of this decision making to other entities, which a lot of companies do actually, but they're able to get access to some of those things, right? So they might get access to and a contracting website like Upwork, for example, where you can get other people to do the jobs that they're actually wanting to accomplish. They might have a virtual secretary or admin assistant in another country where they can get access to those tools. They might also be doing things where it's not necessarily that they have to go into the office anymore, that is part of it, that they have to go in the office, but they're also doing things like, they can walk around and participate in different ways. They can get access to all of the things that they need to get access to while they're on the move. They might not necessarily have a specific office, and it might be completely virtual, where they meet together on a virtual, maybe it's a virtual meeting, where every once a week they get together on a virtual meeting on Zoom, a Zoom call, and they think about what they should do next for the week, right? And it's a lot more versatile in the sense that it's accepting of a diversity of many different kinds of organizations and organizational styles. It doesn't mean that, people still don't do the traditional kind of way of business, but there's a lot more diversity in the sense that it's encouraging of other kinds of businesses and business styles and how they operate. And also that there's a lot of different ways in terms of the motives that they actually have and why they do businesses. Doesn't mean that they didn't exist before. Walt Disney had a very amazing motive to provide just joy to a lot of people, but that's kind of few and far between. Now there's a lot more businesses, a lot more corporations that are seeking, maybe it's non-profit modes, but also trying to profit at the same time that they're trying to do good. And the style, who they are, is often very different as well, what they might look like. Right? Modern CEOs, and you could see them if you just go on to a lot of influencers, for example. You could see them. They're running fairly large corporations, but they have a much different style. They have different demographics. Somebody that has a makeup YouTube channel, for example, they can make a lot of money if they have a lot of followers, but they might not traditionally look like the normal person that you're thinking of that is running a corporation, right? So what I'm getting at is that because of the access, the democratization of information, the democratization of many different ways of structuring in life, there's a lot more different ways that we can interact and a lot more different ways that we can structure things. And there's a lot more flexibility in terms of what that actually looks like. So the modern CEO is continuously, to be honest, figuring out ways to better fit the needs of them in their sort of busy, crazy lifestyles that they all possess, that they want to be part of, but also better fit the world around them, right? It's amazing that we can get access to digital markets and digital tools that we simply couldn't have gotten access to. So the modern CEO is very, very, very versatile, and it might range in ages and demographics and all sorts of different things. And they might not choose to be making a whole bunch of money. They might choose different options to serve the world, all those kind of things. And we should be more accepting of those. So the modern CEO might just look like some dude walking around with his camera, taking a photo like this. All right, take care. Have a wonderful day.